High streets are the lifeblood of our cities, towns and neighbourhoods. They are places of work and employment and places to meet and socialise. High streets also have deep historical and emotional significance to the communities and people they serve. In 2020, there were approximately 310,000 retail outlets in the UK. Despite shifts to online retail, nearly 3/4 of our spending on food, clothing and household goods currently takes place in physical locations like high streets. Around 3 million people are employed in retail, just over 9% of the UK total workforce. In addition, the hospitality sector, including high street restaurants, cafes and takeaways, contributed almost £60 billion to the UK economy and employed nearly 2.5 million people. However, our high streets have been under threat for some time, particularly due to the growth of out-of-town and online shopping. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused additional stresses. At the peak of the pandemic, high street footfall fell by nearly 90%, and the hospitality sector saw a drop of 90% in turnover in the first few months of lockdown. This downturn has hit minority ethnic communities especially hard. The retail industry employs the second largest number of ethnic minorities after health and social care, and over 30% of those with Pakistani and Bangladeshi origin are employed in the food and hospitality sectors. The Trade Union Congress reported in February 2021 that unemployment rates for Black, Asian and minority ethnic workers during the pandemic are twice those of white workers. What impact has the pandemic had for people who work in multi-ethnic streets and businesses? And how have such businesses, their owners and workers responded? Between 2018 and 2020, a team of researchers at the Universities of Manchester, London School of Economics and Cambridge conducted research on the changing face of businesses in Brick Lane. We discovered that Brick Lane was already changing dramatically because of large-scale redevelopment projects in the area. We noted the growth of vintage clothes shops and designer food outlets in the northern part of the street, in contrast to the decline of the Bangladeshi-owned curry houses in the southern part of the street. We returned to Brick Lane in December 2020 and again in April 2021 to explore the impact of the pandemic on these businesses. The overall story is of a stark economic downturn. Many business owners, especially Brick Lane's Bangladeshi restaurateurs, refer to the lane as a ghost town.
My name is Bashir Ahmed. I am the current president of British Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry, UK. I was owning a restaurant called Kasturi, just stone throw from here, end of the road. I was running it since 2001 till 2014.
My name is Abdul Karim Khalik, but people know me as Jamal. And the family business has been here since 1936. So it makes us 86 years this year, and we're the third generation.
My name is Shamsuddin, and I got my business in Monsoon from 1999. When people have come down there, then Brick Lane got new life and business go very well. But now is a very difficult time.
Well, last few months, what can I say? It's been a roller coaster ride. It's been a difficult year for everybody, I think.
Well, the street was kind of like very, very quiet. The whole area was very quiet. And then there was sometimes it's such a depressing sort of moments that it was like a proper ghost town.
It's really sad for our generation to see the Brick Lane is declining day by day, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic.
When we came in here during the pandemic, literally could not see anybody. Some of our neighbours, from what I know, they're not coming back. We actually closed 10 days before the government actually asked us, because I do not want to be responsible for staff, something happening to them. So I just said, look, not worth it, let's just close the store.
In April 2021, more than a quarter of shops had closed. Of the shops that were open, the majority were operating under reduced hours with reduced staffing, while nearly 3/4 of respondents stated that they had managed to keep the majority of their staff. This was on the basis of reduced hours. Over 80% of respondents stated that they had received some form of state assistance, including furlough schemes and rate relief, and that these had been essential for staying afloat.
My name is Abdullah. I'm the proprietor of City Spice. I've been here almost 18 years this year. The pandemic has been absolutely horrendous. Most of the people who are employed here, they support their families with this business. Hats off to the government. Never expected that, but hats off to them for what they've done to support us, to keep us in place in business with the furloughs and the grants.
However, for others, these schemes did not apply.
We've been here 3 years. Business up until the beginning of COVID was really good. In terms of support, we unfortunately fell through the cracks in kind of every way imaginable. We are just a 3x3 spot, so we're not a rateable business and we didn't qualify for that. We're not self-employed here, so we didn't qualify for that either. We are employees as well as owners of the business, so we did qualify for furlough, but not a lot of it.
While you had the furlough and other support, which was great, you still had a whacking big rent that you had to end up paying, and there was no income.
Business has been basically terrible, operating at less than a third of what we used to do during lockdown.
Over 70% of respondents said they were able to conduct some trade online, although there was wide variability in this practice.
Brick Lane depends on a lot of tourists in the city so forth. So obviously, as we know, the city has been completely shut down, kind of. People working from home. So plus the restaurants in Brick Lane were completely closed. They didn't even open for takeaways. We serve the restaurant, the wholesale side, the bars, the few of the hotels that we deal with, and so forth. So unfortunately, and that side of the business was also pretty, non-existent for us.
We use Justice and Deliveroo, but we are in city because we are mainly based on the tourist people and the official people. There is no tourist people, there is no official people. So they have a lot of commission they get. 25%, 30% they're going to take of it. And I'm really not very keen on that.
Restaurants have been particularly affected by the lockdown restrictions on non-essential trade and indoor gathering. This exacerbated particular challenges for what is known as the Indian restaurant trade. While in 2014 there were 35 curry houses, just before the pandemic there were 20 restaurants, and by 2021 this had dropped to just 18. Brick Lane has always been a space of transformation, survival and renewal. As we come out of the pandemic, the street will change again. There are already signs of new businesses opening up and of existing businesses making adaptations.
We're a store on Brick Lane that sell kind of streetwear stuff, imported from America, Berlin, Australia, just around the world really. We thrive on community, so we used to have like parties and exhibitions and stuff here. Our friends who do skate videos, take photos, whatever, we have a space downstairs. And we host them.
A plan to develop the Truman Brewery site has just been approved, though the impact of this development is contested and unclear.
I'm for it, and I'm against it. And there's a mixture of feelings, to be honest. I mean, I don't really mind the development side of it, the developing the area and so forth. But as long as that we can keep with the characteristics of the area, the originality.
We need to understand this contestation in relation to larger processes of regeneration in London that have also resulted in the displacement of people and cultures. The vitality of the multi-ethnic high street brings to the foreground the question of how affordable places to live and make work are retained and valued. We have yet to see how changing work practices and consumer practices will affect trade. A major challenge for Brick Lane and our wider sense of high street vitality is the recognition of the high street as a vital resource for work, culture and belonging.
Brick Lane is not only the business, it's also a culture. So we have to preserve both of them.